Michael Hernandez here, 559 Fights HQ, and I'm here alongside my co-host, Serge Romero, and we're here for a little bit of a different segment here today, Serge. We're here talking about not only 559 fights coming up, but we're here talking about the 559 in general, and this is kind of the 559 podcast, man, talking about everything that's going down MMA-wise, 559 fights. Here, we got 559 Fights 116 coming up, man. It's been a long journey.
Yeah, it's been a long journey. I'm super excited to start this with you. 559 Fights 116 is going to be a banger, so I'm excited to dive in and then talk a little bit about the last event, 559 Fights 115 too, because that was a huge event for 559 Fights too. Yes,
of course. Yeah, no, and just a little bit of the way that this show is going to be working over here for you fight fans watching at home, for all the fans in general that are tuning into the podcast here worldwide. Got 5 things that we're going to go ahead and jump into from the last show. 5 fights that you can go ahead and watch out for coming up on August 23rd, 559 Fights 116. And we got 9 prospects that you can go ahead and watch out for the upcoming 559 Fights bouts coming up in the year. And I mean, we got a hell of a slate coming up for these next coming shows. So a lot of prospects that all these fans can be watching for at home, right?
Yeah, a lot of prospects, a lot of fighters to look out for, a lot to break down. So I think we should get into it.
And we get right into this thing. We got 5 things you may have missed from 559 Fights 115. So the first thing, former ASU going into the Valley.
Yeah.
2-0. Now you got Chance EK running out of 559 Fights 115 with a flying knee win over Brian Benavidez, obviously a hometown favorite over there in the city of Porterville. But then you got Anthony Montalvo getting it done very fast against Marlon Watkins, a former 2-time All-American, now going into the 559 Fights professional sector of his career. That's pretty cool. I mean, to be able to go 2-0, coming, I like how I said, going from valley to valley, man, ASU valley. I think that's such an interesting storyline.
Yeah. Yeah, ASU has always been, a place where wrestling has been really good. We've seen, Montalvo come out of there. There's a couple of guys there's someone from Selma, I believe, that is currently there.
Richard Figueroa over there, now over there at Oklahoma State,
Yeah, he's, they've got a nice pipeline in wrestling to MMA. That wrestling pipeline just in general keeps flowing towards MMA. So it's nice to see ASU kind of show out, especially Montalvo, who's, from the Valley. He went to Buchanan, make his pro debut and dominate in the way that he did, showing why he won that belt in amateur. So, it's cool to see ASU kind of show out.
And then, I mean, just speaking about Chance EK coming in, now obviously keeping that undefeated streak going in the professional sector of his career. But then, like how you said, Anthony Montalvo, hometown guy, getting the win done over here. And then on top of all of that, I mean, let's speak a little bit about 559 Fights veterans going 5-3 on the night, making their return to the cage. Obviously, a lot of 559 Fights veterans from the amateur sector that went to the pros, had a couple of fights. Obviously, some guys making their professional debut, like Anthony Montalvo, but 5-3 on the night. It's got to be pretty cool for all the fans that have been watching along and now seeing these guys blossom to their professional careers.
Yeah, it's awesome to see, guys that you've seen in amateur kind of come up and grab that title in amateur and then go pro, come back and keep that success going. We saw Enoch McCottrell. He came in and got that win. Former champion at 559 Fights. That's really cool to see. 559 Fights. It's nice to show that 559 Fights staying with this organization can still take you places and get you wins.
Very much so. And then just speaking a little bit about 559 Fights and its first ever event over there at Eagle Mountain Casino, sold out event, first ever time going over there. We'll be back again at the end of the year. I mean, that's got to make the city of Porterville, the Eagle Mountain Casino. I know there's tons of people rolling those slots. I know they're excited.
Yeah, it's huge to have a sellout and established casino like Eagle Mountain Casino. They just broke ground on their resort for over there too, so that'll be nice. Get some fighters to stay, get some fans to stay over there. Keep it going, keep the fun, going. But it's nice to see, that crowd, that venue. It was electric.
Eagle Mountain Casino, the place to be as always, and potentially going to be the home for 559 Fights, potentially moving forward into these next coming years as they look to, like how you said, breaking ground on that resort over there. Who knows? You may see MLH Media sipping pina coladas right before a fight next time. But we're going to go ahead, hop into the next sector here. We're going kind of rolling through it a little bit, but let's slow it down here, man. Serge, we're talking about RDC boxing. We've got 2 prospects that have been absolutely killing it out of there lately. We've got another one out of RDC who's also going to be fighting for the 559 Fights title, Moses Contreras and Gianni Garcia, a recent member over there to the RDC team. But let's talk about the guys that kind of jump-started this thing. You got Sajan Zacharias, a former 559 Fights flyweight champ, earned his professional contract with the win over Lorenzo Quintana. And then you had Eric Arroyo, now earning his spot back into the title picture against Herman Tabauda for this upcoming 559 Fights 116 on August 23rd. It's been absolutely crazy to see RDC Boxing's kind of involvement in 559. You've gotten to speak to Eric Arroyo personally for some pieces on him. What are your kind of thoughts about speaking to not only Eric, but you've also got to speak to Sage as well, kind of both these gentlemen, RDC Boxing in general?
Yeah, it's been awesome to see both of their journeys. You know, they had a little bit of dip in 113 at 559's 113. They both lost, you know, but they both rebounded amazingly in the last event. You know, Sajan and Eric getting those wins. That was awesome to see. Awesome to see them find success there. Eric Arroyo is such a cool dude. I interviewed him for an article that I wrote that's on the 559 Fights website that you can check out. But he's an awesome dude, very down to earth, very, you know, humble, very appreciative of where he came from, because he told me that he didn't have, you know, the best childhood in terms of the area he grew up in, and he found himself in some trouble. But RDC Boxing kind of brought him and gave him an outlet to, you know, fight and, you know, find success and find like a new career. So it's just cool to see RDC, you know, giving people that outlet. And then also they have a bunch of classes for kids, and, you know, Eric and Sajan always help out with that too. So it's awesome to see them, you know, give back to the community.
Coach Ruben, all those guys over there at RDC Boxing doing a great job as always. And I believe that's a free, I could be wrong on that, I believe it's a free program over there in Fresno. So if you are looking to go ahead and kind of get involved into a program, you're in the 559 in that Fresno area, go ahead and check out RDC Boxing. Definitely has been, as like we've been saying, producing some great talent. And Sajan Zacharias, like how you said, awarded that pro contract, also was awarded a pretty nice Eagle Mountain Casino belt on top of all of that. I mean, he has been absolutely killing it though, 2025.
Facts.
And now looking to this last point, Nick Maximov, a former 559 Fights veteran, one of those guys that we talked about adding to the 559 Fights veterans win totals on this last card. I mean, getting it done over Henderson Federa, a very, very, very touted prospect in terms of the regional MMA scene. Got a second round TKO over that gentleman. I mean, it's got to be a matter of time for this guy, right?
Yeah.
He's 3-0 in the last 6 months. Got a recent win over a Dana White Contender Series veteran. I feel like Nick Maximov's Guns N' Roses knocking on heaven's door. He's right there, right? He's got to be, Serge.
Yeah, I feel like he's done more than enough to prove himself to get back in there. 3 wins in the past 6 months. You can't really, you know, prove yourself more than that. And then getting a win over someone like Ferreira, who had over 20 wins, you know, someone who's established like that, I feel like that's all you can ask for in terms of, you know, trying to get back there. So I would not be surprised to see him back in the UFC.
And, I mean, wouldn't be surprised to see him back in the cage, which we will be seeing him back in the cage August 1st. It looks like he will be taking on another contender over there. A1 Combat will be taking on Renato Valiente for A1 Combat 29.
Yeah, he's doing everything he can.
Another growing promotion over here in the state of California, a sister partner with 559 Fights, A1 Combat, doing it big, going to be having their event over there on August 1st. Now taking over into this upcoming event, Sergio Romero. Got big fights that we got coming up. Let's go ahead and throw it to you, man. I know you have a real one that's really kind of been starred on this upcoming card. Can you kind of talk to the fans, talk to me about it a little bit?
Yeah, well, we talked about this guy just right now, Eric Arroyo. He's going against Herman Tabauda for a second time for the 559 Fights featherweight title. You know, it's a big fight. Last time they fought, it was a banger. It went all 3 rounds, unanimous decision, and it earned Fight of the Night honors, so that's really cool to see them run it back. You know, it's kind of a fight that you have to run back, and a press release I just put out, Jeremy Lucha, our CEO, said you have to run that fight back, especially with all the fireworks they produced in the last one. So I know both those guys pretty well. I've interviewed both of them after fights. I interviewed Eric for that article. So, you know, it's definitely, you know, tense when you're watching it there, but, you know, it's good to see either of those guys come out on top, because both of them are more than deserving of that honor.
And I mean, both of their stories as well are so like, it just shows the true testament of human will. I mean, you got Herman Tabota. It's the tale of two cities, as they say. You got Herman Tabota. Recently had been in a car accident, I believe, about a year or 2 years ago. He didn't even know if he was going to be able to fight again. And then be able to come back, 559 fights, was able to get a couple wins, notch that belt. And then you got Eric Arroyo on the other side of things. I mean, kind of going through the grizzled path, you know, didn't really have the traditional MMA path, spent some time in being incarcerated. And now,
that's right.
I mean, he's obviously blossomed into being quite the MMA prospect. So like how you said, very, very interesting story for both those gentlemen.
Yeah, and Herman is coming off of a 4-fight winning streak. We'll see if he can keep that alive, you know, out of the Shoot MMA. They produced some amazing champions in the past, Julio Larave, to name one of them, you know. It's going to be cool to see them go at it once again.
Julio Larave most recently going over there fighting for 559 fights, 115. Wasn't able to go ahead and get the job done against Muslim Garbachev. But Herman Tabota, Eric Arroyo, 559 fights, featherweight championship going to be on the line between those two gentlemen coming off of a fight of the night. Mr. Eric Arroyo and then Herman Tabota, 4-fight winning streak on the line. Obviously a lot on the line there. And then the belts, I mean, what else could you want? But we go into the second fight here. This is one I'm personally certain on my list. I always love to see the women scrap and go at it. Got Jacqueline Flores making her California MMA debut. Three fights in the state of Texas, most recently coming off of a first-round loss, but had 2 wins via finish before that. Now taking on a girl that's got some fire behind her step, Jasmine Jastrzębski. I mean, just an absolute killer over there. What do you have to say about that matchup?
Well, we saw Jasmine, you know, knock the lights out of Jocelyn Armeda in the last 559 fights, 115, and a head kick knockout in the first round. So that fight was kind of insane to watch. And then, you know, Jackie's got the reputation of, you know, fighting over in Texas. You know, we're finally seeing her on a 559 fights card. She's from Visalia. She fights out of Chris MMA. So people know who she is. So the fact that she's finally getting a fight here in the Central Valley is pretty big, and it's going to be a fight to watch for sure. And
one of the things that I'm most excited for with Jacqueline is you always love to see how fighters bounce back from a loss. And not only that, but you got a girl like Jasmine who started her career off with the loss. So she's now you gain 2 people on the flip side of the coins. I always love seeing matchups like that, Serge, because you never really know what you're going to get, right? Now going into this third matchup here, 4 559 fights, 116, August 23rd at the Visalia Convention Center. We have Jihad Sewell, light heavyweight, the big boys going at it. 2-0, both wins by finish. One in the first round, one in the second. But then he's going to be taking on Dalton Hambrook. And this is kind of a cool matchup as well. You got U.S. Marine Corps veteran Dalton Hambrook taking on a man that is now in the Navy, just formerly stationed in Japan, I believe, for Jihad Sewell. This matchup, I know we just passed 4th of July. We were saying fireworks for the last one, but man, this is just fireworks going off all over the place.
Yeah, we should probably set off some fireworks outside the convention center after this one. But yeah, it's cool to see 2 guys who have served our country, you know, fight each other, take in the cage together. Jihad Sewell, 2-0, like you said, 2 knockouts. He's an up-and-coming prospect out of Team Ochoa Combat Academy. I've interviewed him after his 2 fights, after his 2 wins as well. You know, he's a really chill guy. He's really cool.
What do I say about his dance moves?
Oh, amazing dance moves. He always brings the energy before and after his fights, you know. But once he's in the cage, he's always, you know, locked in, cool, calm, and collected. And he comes out the winner in those 2 fights. But you know, we'll see what happens against Dalton, because we were just watching some of his clips earlier before this, and he's kind of impressive too. Not gonna lie, he hasn't fought 559 yet. But he's 3-1. He's got a little bit of a resume in other promotions. So we'll see how this one pans out. But you know, another fight, that's going to be a banger most likely, and some fireworks we're bound to see.
It's also got some finishing power over there in Mr. Dalton Hambrook. But then on top of that, this is a guy that's trained over there in Huntington Beach, getting to train with some of the best teams in California. Jihad Sewell also getting to train with one of the top heavyweights in the state, and Robert Barrios, only a weight class above him. So, I mean, both these gentlemen will be well prepared for the test that comes at them for 559 fights, 116. And then also Jihad Sewell, state champion in wrestling, Dalton Hambrook, wrestling background. So, would love to see these gentlemen out on the feet, right?
Yeah, it might turn into a wrestling match. We'll see.
It might turn into a wrestling match. Might turn into a brawl. Be there, 559 fights, 116, August 23rd. We got a couple more fights, some big ones to watch out for here on the preliminary card and then one on the main card, just to give you fans a little bit of both sides of the coin. Israel Aldama versus Julian Alvarado. Both these gentlemen are known for their in-cage ability. Israel Aldama, the only man to ever beat Chris Ciampa in 559 fights, and Julian Alvarado, 559 fights, fight of the night winner against Blake Willard, and just an absolute amazing showing with the second round finish. Both these gentlemen are, when they go in the cage, they're looking for the finish. That's point blank, period.
Yeah, they're looking for the finish. Both these guys don't really care who's across the cage from them. They're going in and setting their sights on a finish. Taking down the now super lightweight champion, I believe Chris Ciampa is it's a tough task, but Aldama did it very early on in his 559 career. So it'll be cool to see Israel back out there again against someone like Julian, who has the power and the drive to get a finish.
Most recently taking on a man that we'll kind of be speaking on a little bit further in Augustin Garcia, but the other matchup that I'm looking at with some maybe some circling and just kind of some real eyeballs looking towards this one is Joey Sandoval, former 559 fights champion, most recently getting a win over Travis Lau in the second round. He's looking to go ahead and make a run back at that belt. Lost it against Amin Dadakshan, looking to get back at it, and he's taking on a very tough competitor in Jose Luzinaga.
Yeah, Joey Sandoval, first event that I saw him fight at was against Abraham Del Toro, and Del Toro took care of business against him, but he didn't go down. Joey didn't go down without a fight, and the next title shot, Joey Sandoval got it, and then his fight against Amin was another banger. So Joey's no tough opponent. He's got experience. He's got more experience than a lot of these guys just in 559 fights in general. So it's good to see him out there again fighting. He's a great prospect, and then going against someone like Jose, where they've also got that drive. It's going to be another. All these fights are bangers. It's going to be another banger.
Definitely going to be a very and Jose, very very young guy over there. I don't even think he's even legal enough to drink, and he has almost about as many fights as he has years in age. So that just goes about to show the type of skill level that gentleman has on him. Both these gentlemen, 7 fights in their amateur careers here so far, as they look to go ahead and head into 559 fights 116 and sees who comes out on top of the 8th one there. We got fight 1, Herman Tabata versus Eric Arroyo. Jacqueline Flores versus Jasmine Jusquemti. My apologies there, Jasmine. I know that's a hard name there. Jihad Sewell, Dalton Hambrook. Got Julian Alvarado, Israel Aldama, Jose Luzuniga, and Joey Sandoval. Big fights coming up here on 559 fights.
Get hyped.
116. Now, heading into our third sector of the show here, our last sector of 559's podcast here today. We got the 9 up-and-coming prospects that people gotta keep their eyes out for, man. Because
keep your eyes peeled for these ones.
They go in the cage, and you may go get a beer, may go get some nachos. You're not gonna know what happened. Their fight's gonna be done. Talk with us a little bit about these prospects. How about start off here, sir?
Yeah. So starting off with the women's weight classes, we got Brianna Stevens. She also fights out of Chris MMA, 3-0. She did fight for a title, but I believe she missed weight just barely. But she's still someone to watch out for. In other fights, she's got finishes. She's got a really good resume under her belt. So she's definitely someone that you don't want to leave the stands to go grab a snack for or anything like that. If you hear her name getting announced, you're definitely going to want to stay in your seat for that one.
100%. And then right on the other side of that, you have Jacqueline Flores, who has been, absolutely amazing in her MMA career over there in Texas. Now looking to make it over here in the state of California, a Visalia resident, well known in the Central Valley for her MMA skills. So I think a lot of people are going to be circling her fight in general, but I think people that know MMA now, they're definitely going to be watching 559 fights 116, right?
Yeah, another one where you don't want to miss her name if she gets announced. You're definitely going to want to stay in your seat. Another one, moving on to the men's divisions now. Noah Ozuna, he's 3-0, fighting for Team Oyama out of the OC. Ozuna has been someone that has been kind of lights out so far in his MMA career with 559. Like I said, he's 3-0 and definitely a rising prospect.
And Ozuna, the brother, obviously, of former 559 fights champ Elijah Ozuna, who is actually over there right in the background, and just an absolutely, like how you said, a stellar prospect. Submission ability, has striking ability, was able to go ahead and get it done against Louis Ramos last time out, a gentleman that had 3 fights underneath his belt, and was able to go ahead and hand him his first loss as an amateur. We now take it over to another Team Oyama member, Adam Bashandi in the lightweight division. I mean, Timo Yama, 559 fights lightweight. I think it's just a connection at this point. You got, Dadik Shani's the champ. I mean, you just got Adam Bashandi. He's been killing it. 2 finishes now.
Yep. Yeah, Bashandi, he's only 19 years old too, 20 years old. So super young. He's younger than I am, which is crazy.
This guy's just, I don't know where Colin Oyama's finding him, man. He's got a field ready full of prospects.
Oyama's got a nice pipeline to 559 fights so far.
And definitely has served them well in this 2025 year so far. We now take it over to the flyweight division. Jesus Federico, 3-0 so far in his mixed martial arts career. Over there out of Cortez Martial Arts, Mendota, California originally. I mean, this guy he's knocking at that door for that 559 fights flyweight gold. He's got to be, Serge, right?
Yeah, Jesus Federico, he's a prospect to look out for. Definitely more than deserving of a title shot. Someone, like we said, to look out for, someone who, you don't want to get out of your seat for that one, because he can definitely bring it.
He's always brought not only the striking ability, but he also has a really, really nice ability on the feet to go ahead and kind of take it away from the takedowns. Boxing really, really nice on Federico. Now looking again into another prospect, Moses Gonzalez over there out of Ochoa Combat Academy has been only 1 fight in, but 20-second knockout. You got to go ahead and give the applause there. Right?
Yeah, it's something definitely to highlight. A 20-second knockout, that's not something you see very often. And when it does happen, you definitely stay to watch his next fight after that. So definitely look to see some fireworks out of him, some finishes. You never know what you're going to see with him.
And we're speaking about the Team Oyama pipeline. I mean, talking a little bit about that Choa Combat Academy pipeline. You also have Jonathan Rigby, who's also going to be fighting on this card coming up here. He will also 1-0 in his mixed martial arts career. Jahad Swul, 2-0 in his mixed martial arts career. So many guys that have been coming out of that Choa Combat Academy that have been doing pretty well for themselves as of late. But speaking a little bit, 3 last prospects, and 2 of these guys in that big mad town. Madera Mixed Martial Arts has been producing these welterweights, man. Augustin Garcia and Gabriel Sanchez have been absolute killers so far in 2025.
Yeah, they're both 3-0. They both, get it done. They get it finished. Gabriel Sanchez especially, he always brings a crowd with him to these events, and so his fights are always electric. And then Augustin Garcia just took down a well-known name in his last fight. I'm forgetting who it is at the moment.
It's Israel Aldama.
Israel Aldama, yeah, there you go. So, Garcia's got some heavy hands. Sanchez also has some heavy hands too. So, both in the welterweight division too. I doubt we'd ever see them fight, but all the better just to have them spread out the level a little bit more.
2 wins via finish so far for Augustin Garcia. Gabriel Sanchez has also had a pretty nice showing on the feet so far in his 559 fights career. Had a fight of the night against Blake Willard. Now looking into our last prospect, and this has been a man that you know pretty well, the man that has, some of the best dance moves in the 559, Jahad Swul.
Yeah, some of the best dance moves, some of the best, music taste, always playing that big X out there in the cage after he's done and when he walks out. But yeah, Jahad Swul, he's got the knockout power. He's got, the wrestling ability. We talked about him earlier. Out of Ochoa Combat Academy, 2-0. Definitely someone, to look out for. I remember his first fight with 559. He was fighting someone that was probably half a foot taller than him, and he took care of business against him. He did not care how much taller he was than, how much shorter he was than his opponent. He was just going out there and getting the job done. He wasn't listening to any of the outside noise like that. So,
and he is definitely somebody that, like how you said, is very, very outspoken. When you talk to Jahad, anybody that knows this, he is definitely going to be letting you know what is on his mind. But man, he is somebody that when he goes in the cage, it is all business, as it looks to be suited and booted, ready to go. 559 fights, 116. August 23rd over there at the Visalia Convention Center, as we look to go ahead and make our return for the summer. We hope all you fans have been staying cool at home, and we hope to look to see you over there. 559 fights, 116 is going down. Visalia Convention Center. We'll see you out there, fans.